All right, everybody, we are live. Welcome to episode 2 of the Vision Podcast, where we interview the best up and coming founders and co-founders. The next phase, the next wave of great co-founders in the country. Today, our special guest is Dapo Kolawole. Just to give you all a little background, I know Dapo from we were in the same accelerator, the National Black MBA Accelerator together. This is about a year ago exactly, almost the date, back in January of 2022. And Dapo, first of all, what's up, man? How you been, man? You been doing okay?
I'm all right, man. It's good to see you again. And yes, it's been a year, but hey, we're in a new year right now, so I'm excited to see you and see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2023's got some big things coming. When I first heard about your business, I know gave the introduction for the accelerator last year, and everybody was going through the business. Yours is one of the ones that stuck out to me because it's like it's a service that I can see myself needing. I've been in a situation where it's like I didn't want to buy furniture. I just wanted to rent it for a small time. I'm in an apartment for a little while, or just in a place, even if it's an office. I just want to rent some furniture just for a small term. For people who don't know, let us know what it is that Roomii does.
Yeah, so yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. Roomii is an on-demand, top quality furniture platform where you could rent furniture from other people that have that kind of furniture you're looking for. So we connect furniture owners and renters. With the owners, we give them the flexibility to rent it out, sell it, or cash out if they're moving. And it's like, I try to sell this, I can't sell it. If it's a brand that we want on our platform, they could cash out and they could just pick up and leave.
Right.
For renter, on the renter side, we give them the flexibility of one, rent it for as low as 1 month and for as long, however long they need it. And they have the flexibility to return it, rent what you love or buy what you love, return what you don't. So when it's time for you to leave, all you got to do is call your Uber and leave. Your apartment's going to be empty. You're not trying to figure out what to do with all that furniture because you bought the furniture.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I thought when you first explained. I was like, I wish I thought of that. That's a great idea because I've been in this situation a lot, like I said, where I was just in a short-term lease, and I just I was either going to buy a spot, I was going to move to another spot, and it's just like I just want something just to hold me over. And furniture can get kind of expensive, especially
Yeah.
nowadays, really
Yeah.
expensive. So, what made you even think of that idea?
So March of 2020, when they closed down they shut down Chicago, they shut down Illinois, and I used to work out of a incubator space downtown Chicago. So it's a place I rented. They had furniture. I did not need to have a home office. I went out there and worked every other day. So I came back home. They shut down the city. They shut down the state. And I'm like, okay, I need to furnish. I need to create a home office that I would like to work in.
Right.
My background is in commercial furniture, and I spent the last 20 years developing, designing furniture. So, in terms of furniture that looks good, furniture that makes you feel great when you walk into your space, that's the kind of furniture I was looking for.
Okay.
So when I went online to find out how much it costs to get this kind of furniture, I was like, okay, this is going to be a lot more than I thought it would be. I'd have to take out a second mortgage just to buy furniture. So I was
Right.
like, you know what? Let me see what other options are there. So when I looked at Facebook Marketplace, you would have to buy the furniture. You would have to figure out what to do with the furniture after you don't need it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't the best of options. Craigslist, the kind of furniture you found on Craigslist was not the kind of style or brand I was looking for. So that was not an option. So I started looking at other renter centers. Renting furniture is not a new thing.
Right.
Renter centers are a couple of companies out there, but what I was looking for personally was those brands that are like modern looking brands
Mm-hmm.
that have sustainability built into their story, and that's the kind of furniture I was looking for. And I couldn't find a place to rent something like that.
Right.
And that's the genesis of how I started looking at rent Roomii from not just the person that owns furniture. What do you do when you don't need that furniture anymore? And how quickly can you walk away without having to be tied down trying to sell something or being ghosted on Facebook Marketplace?
Mm-hmm.
All these issues that happen. And then on the renter side, being able to say, you know what, I just need this furniture piece for just a few hours. I just need it for a week. I'm throwing a show this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having people over for Super Bowl. I need that long sofa, that L sectional, so I can just have it for
Right.
the weekend.
Right.
You can't do that today. You'd have to buy it, or you go to your friend's house and you watch the game.
Yep. Yep.
So that's the genesis of it.
Okay. Okay. And I mean, that's what they say. They say the best thing is to start a business on a pain point that you have personally, because you know about that. You know about that pain point. Once you identify that, and then you say, okay, this is a good business opportunity. What was your next step? Did you write a business plan? Did you start, thinking about? Did you start registering? Like, what was your next step?
That's a very good question. I think my next step was I was aware of something called Startup School by Y Combinator.
Okay.
It's like a pre-accelerator to the Y Combinator program.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I just applied to that. I knew the session was coming up. I said, okay, let me apply to this and kind of vet out those initial things that I was thinking about the business.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Startup School is that it's free. They have multiple. I think it's a 3-month program, so they have multiple 3-month programs during the year, and it's a place for you to just test it out. So you get to test out. They force you to go talk to customers, do interviews, find out how your potential customers are actually solving the problem of solving what you're trying to solve.
Okay.
You don't actually come out and tell them what you're doing. You just ask them, hey, just walk me through your journey the last time you moved into an apartment. You make it very broad, and they go, yeah, I did this. I found this place. I had my furniture. I didn't have furniture. It took me weeks, whatever the story may be. And you just interview as many people as possible.
Okay.
So this is my second startup. My first startup is called City Spoon. I kind of knew the steps I needed to take to kind of begin to, test out that concept and idea. And the first thing I did was to join, Startup School or Startup University, I think it's called. It's YC. It's a YC program.
Okay. Okay. That's a good way of doing it. Like talking to customers or potential customers first and seeing, is there even an opportunity there?
Yeah.
Is it a pain point that's reaching a lot of people? So what was some of the feedback when you started talking to these customers or potential customers, not customers at that point? What are some of the things that they said that made you say, okay, let me move forward and let me go ahead and start this for real?
Yeah. So I interviewed a variety of people that had different backgrounds. Some of them resonated with what we're trying to do. Some of them said they won't do it. So it was quick. It was very quick for me to find out that my target market isn't baby boomers.
Okay. Okay.
It was very quick to do that. When I told them, like, why would I want to rent furniture? I own my own home. I could buy a home, And then as I started going down by generation, I'm hitting people that's like, yeah, I just graduated. I'm in Chicago right now. I may be moving to New York in 2 years. I don't want to buy anything. I live in a city. I can't get to IKEA because if you know where IKEA is never in the city. It's somewhere outside in the burg.
Right.
And if you live in the city, you don't have a van. You don't have a truck. You probably don't even have a car. You're probably Ubering and taking the train, the Metro or the CTA in Chicago to get around. So the more I interviewed people, the more I was able to begin to understand who that target is. I also was able to better understand between genders, which one would use it more than the other. For example, when I interviewed, a lot of the females I interviewed told me that security was a big concern for them. If they had something they wanted to sell and somebody said they wanted to see it, they would have to have a male friend around for somebody else to come see that piece of furniture.
Right.
Or if they're new in town, they don't have the connections, they don't know anybody to try to get stuff furnished. And if they try to work with like an IKEA, they get stuff delivered to their place. Now they have to start trying to build that bed frame. They have to build the coffee table. It's like by the time they're done, it's time for them to start moving out.
Yeah.
So customer interviews essentially allowed me to just understand the journey of the numerous people that I interviewed. It also helped me create create how I was explaining the business on our website.
Okay.
Eventually, I took comments that they said, and that's exactly how I kind of put it on the website. This is what we do, and that's kind of that has morphed over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more. What's the word? It's a lot more cleaned up. Initially, my first version of the website, one of the things that they teach you at startup school is that they want you to launch and launch fast, launch right away.
Okay.
If you wait too long, you waited too long. Just launch whatever you have.
Mm-hmm.
And my first version of the site it was terrible. It was bad. It was not good.
Right.
But they had, it kind of tried to explain what I was doing. And but the more I worked through the process and even going through National Black MBA,
Mm-hmm.
you begin to get more clarity on how to position the site to make sure that the first thing that people see when they get there is furniture.
Right.
When you came to the initial site that I had, it talked about all the problems that people went through, and then on the side it just said these are the furnitures we have.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, when I get to your site, I have no idea what this site is all
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's one thing I noticed, because when I went to your site, when I first went to your site, when we first met, that's probably the old site. But like now, you have a picture. Like the thing that stuck out my mind on your site now is you have a picture of a young lady sitting on a couch, comfortable, smiling, and
Yeah.
so it's like it's engaging. It's like
Yeah.
okay, and from there it pulls me in. So now I can read. Okay, what's this about? But that initial picture is like, okay, cool. It seems like something that's interesting. Let's see what it's about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to the brand, we're not, I wouldn't say we're a brand yet, but how you brand your site, the images, the copy, what it says,
Mhm.
it's all about, it's like when I talk about how Roomii works for people that own furniture, I think I say make room, make money, make space.
Okay.
Because if you own furniture, you want to get rid of it, you want to make room. But if you rent it, you're gonna make money,
Mhm.
and then you can make space. But I didn't get to those three bullet points overnight. It took months
Right.
to get there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's all about just continually working on stuff.
Editing and evolving. No, I like that. I like that because I talk to a lot of potential business owners and aspiring business owners who they want everything to be perfect on the front end, and
Yeah.
it's just not realistic. Like I forgot who said it, but it's probably the best analogy I heard to start a business, at least from my experiences. It's like jumping out of a plane and then learning how to build a parachute on the way down.
Yeah.
So it's I like how you did it, which was you talking to customers and how they like that advice they gave you, which is to launch quick and make the adjustments while you're getting feedback instead of
Yes.
thinking you're going to make it perfect and then putting it out, because it's never going to be perfect.
No, it's never. And because this is my second startup, my first startup, I didn't do any of the things I just told you.
Right.
I just built it and it never came. And I spent a ton of money building it. And it never came.
Right. Right.
It was like, nope, this time around, build, like I could do websites myself. So I built the current version, the original version, and even this version, I had some help building it, but just throwing something up there, and just making it as minimal cost as possible.
Mhm.
And even if we're generating revenue off of that version of the website, I'm like, okay, we got something going on here.
Right.
But I didn't spend, the rest of my retirement money building this version. I'm like, no, I'm just going to spend a few dollars here with my technical skills, put something out there, and then see if it resonates with any of the people that told me when I interviewed them that they would use it.
Right. Right. No, that's a good way. It reminds me of a book that talks about that called Lean Startup. That was a really good book. It was just
Yes.
same concept, the same
Yeah.
concept.
Yes.
That's really good. So like you had an advantage because you can build websites. So you can build like an MVP version of the website. And if you needed some help on expanding it, you can get some help. But at least the core you can build yourself. How did you, once you got everything built, at least to a basic level, how did you market the business? How did you market Roomii so people can know about it?
So one of the things I did was I took a leaf from. So one of the things I do is I listen to a lot of podcasts about other entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen to their journey and their stories. And then I also read a lot of books about, I have a book called How, I have the book version of the podcast called How I Built This. And I listen to the story of how all these famous companies that we hear today, had they hacked themselves into opportunities.
Right.
So one of the things we did was we made sure we knew that there was already a customer base on Facebook Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was we wrote a program that would actually reach out to people on Facebook Marketplace that had furniture that had been sitting on Facebook Marketplace for a long time and say, hey, you got this nice piece. Do no one's biting on it. Do you want to consider listing it on our platform?
Okay.
So we were using software to kind of like, if I try to do it myself, I'd have to actually run an ad or go to conferences and stuff. No, you could use software to kind of leverage, a larger and a target market. So we kind of use software to do that. And
Okay.
apart from that, we ran a couple of Facebook ads. During this past summer, we did a couple of events downtown it's called Sundays on State Street. So we actually had a booth downtown where
Mm-hmm.
people could ask us questions and sign up and stuff like that. So we looked at many things last year, but that first year, it was just a lot of. I'll actually step back and say a lot of pitch competitions that I did was an opportunity for me to get the word out. You
Okay.
know, because so I've been doing a lot of pitch competitions. In fact, in 2020, I did a few where we didn't really win, but
Mm-hmm.
we got kind of like marketing out of it.
Okay.
They would put it on their Instagram page, on the LinkedIn page. People are like, okay, what's this? And then I get an opportunity to talk about it. They give me my 5 minutes or my 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So 2020 was more of just pitching and getting the word out. And then 2021, 22 was more of what are these community events that we could do to get the word out.
Okay. Okay. Quick break for everybody listening on. You can ask your own questions as well. Type in the comment box or type in the chat box that any questions you have for Dapo, and I'll go ahead and ask that as well. Want you all to get all your questions answered and any feedback that you have, go ahead and throw it in there. But yeah, going along with that. So with the marketing end of things, I know for me, one thing that I felt kind of set me apart a little bit was actually doing things in the community. So I wasn't just doing things, just putting up ads, Instagram ads, Facebook ads. I was actually going there in the community, which gave me a chance for musicians, in my case, musicians, to come out and talk to me about the business, what it is they're doing, and kind of get that trust in the brand itself. Is that something that you saw when you were doing things in the community as well?
Yeah, what excited me about. So we did two community events last year. One of them was Juneteenth. So we had a booth at this place downtown, which allowed people to just stop by and tell us how they're dealing with stuff. Oh, what
Right.
is this about? And I get to tell them what it's about, and they go. Some of them would tell me, well, what would happen in this situation with
Mm-hmm.
my furniture? We would have these conversations that as soon as that event was over, we're making changes on the website.
Right.
Like going
Right.
back and saying, okay, this is how we need to do this.
Uh-huh.
It literally just told me how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They came up and asked questions. I was like, yeah, this one person was like, I have stuff, but I don't want it back after it's rented out.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to these events that we had in the summer, we were only focused on renting only.
Right.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
Right now, if you go to the platform, you could rent out your furniture. You could sell your furniture because we noticed we're leaving money on the table. People are like, look, I don't want it back. I just want to sell it.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to leave money on the table. So we open up the avenue for selling.
Okay.
Then we ran into a third bucket of people that was like, I've tried to sell my furniture. No one's buying it. I have to move out tomorrow. So we're like, okay, let's introduce something called cash out.
Mm-hmm.
If the furniture you have is in excellent condition, if it's the brands that we're looking for, we'll give you a fair market value for it. We'll pick it up, and you don't have to deal with anything. We'll come get it.
Okay.
So we noticed that there were slightly different kind of customers, the ones that wanted to rent out their stuff, the ones that wanted to
Right.
just sell it, and the ones that were trying to sell it, but they couldn't, but they
Right.
were trying to figure it out. So their options would have been storage or giving it to their cousin to go get it, or just leaving it in the apartment and then getting a bill later on from when they clean out the apartment. It's like, yeah, there's a bill here for $1,200 because we had to clean out all your furniture.
Right.
So the more we went out into community, we actually started getting some rapid insights as to how people were solving how people needed problem solved.
Okay, that's really good. My option in the past is always giving it to my cousin and being pissed off because I was like, I could have got $1,000 for it. It was a nice couch.
I know, cousins, man. That's why I live in Chicago. Most of my cousins are in New York and Toronto. If they call, like, I'm gonna try to sell this stuff.
No, I'm with you on that. So up to now, and you launched this in 2020, right? The first version of it.
That's correct.
What's been the hardest, the biggest hurdle you faced up to this point now?
So the hardest hurdle that we faced up until this point is awareness and conversion. So a lot of people are already used to buying and selling. They could do that all day.
Right.
But when it comes to renting, that's where we need to educate people. Like, these are the things that happens when you try to rent. Obviously, you could make more money with your furniture if you rent.
Right.
But what happens to damage with your furniture? What happens to if someone walked away with your furniture? So these are a couple of things that we had to make sure we addressed with furniture rental, especially if you're renting your furniture to me. You want to know what happens if it gets damaged. What happens if I rented it and then I took off for New York with it.
Right.
These scenarios. So we were able to start addressing all these concerns that potential owners will have for renting out their furniture. In fact, when you go on the site right now, you could schedule a meeting with me directly, and I will walk you through the process. Because one of the things I learned pretty quickly in 2020 was that you need to give people direct access I need people to have direct access to me so I can answer their questions. And we do have many people reach out and say, okay, I have furniture. I'm considering renting it. What about this? What about this? What about this? And we have to make sure we have, we've actually put in place a lot of checks and balances to make sure we address those concerns.
Okay. No, that's awesome. All right, last two. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I got two final questions for you. I'm going to ask these to all guests that come on because I want to make sure that everybody gets something out of it. So the first thing is, let me know what's one valuable tool that you use that's really helped you out.
So one valuable tool that I've used that has really helped me out as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Is actually, I would say, podcasts.
Okay.
Listening to podcasts of other founders, when you listen to their story of how they started and how they hacked their way to where they are and how big they are, their name, wildly known right now. I make sure I'm constantly listening, and sometimes I actually go back to some of the podcasts. I'm like, okay, now I'm at that point in the life of this business that podcast that I listened to 2 years ago applies now. Let me go listen to it again.
Right.
Let me go listen to this. For example, my first startup, City Spoon, we needed to raise money for our app.
Okay.
And we lived in Iowa back then. And the one thing about Iowa and elections is that a lot of the candidates will come through Iowa to come and, talk about the platform and stuff like that. So Iowa is like that first state they hit.
Right.
So one of the podcasts I had listened to was the podcast of the founders of Airbnb. And when they had maxed out all their credit cards building Airbnb, there was a convention that was coming to their city, which was a Democratic convention. So what they did was they created these two cereal boxes, Obama O's and Captain McCain's. And they had real cereal in it.
Okay.
Because of that podcast, I was able to actually create. I'm just to step out of camera and grab the 2 boxes and show it to you.
Okay.
And we used those boxes. We actually created the cereal boxes ourselves, designed it, found a box, found somebody online or freelancer or Fiverr to design the box.
Mm.
Went to Aldi's and bought real cereal, popped the box out, put real cereal in this, sealed it up. Went to all these campaign sites where these politicians were talking about their platform, and sold each box for $25 each.
Wow.
Give me 1 second.
All right.
Now, these boxes that you see here are from the last election. These are not from the current election, but these are the last election. So we created Lucky Trumps in 2016, I think, 2018.
2016.
This was Lucky Trumps. This was Lucky Trumps.
And
then we had Honey Nut Hilarios, which was Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Between these 2 boxes, we raised $20,000 to build an app, selling
That's
cereal
crazy.
boxes. And I remember taking this box. I remember the first box we built. I went to my bank and I showed my banker. I'm like, how much do you think I could get for this? He looked at it, said about $5. Okay. And then I heard that Donald Trump was coming to Iowa. And my wife and I stayed up all night making about 100 of these. And we went out there and they were selling like hotcake. In fact,
man,
somebody from Donald Trump's campaign came and bought box number. He's number 45, right?
45, right?
Yeah. They said, I want to buy box number because we had them numbered, like their numbers on the top. So it's
right.
You get when you buy it, you get the unique one.
Okay.
So this came from me listening to a podcast.
Man, that's incredible, man. That's actually incredible. That's unbelievable. And then the fact that y'all price it at 25 because it's a collector's item. You know, what I mean, they're not going to eat the cereal. It's a collector's item, so you can charge whatever you want to charge, basically. You know.
That is right. If you Google right now, Lucky Trump cereal, you'll see people. There's some people that actually opened it and ate the cereal. They have a video on. Okay. There are videos out there that I've seen, and I'm like, podcast. So when you say what is that one thing that I continue to do, is I keep listening to podcasts over. I'll go back to old podcasts. I'll go back to old pitch. There's this podcast called The Pitch.
Okay.
And I'll listen to that. I'll listen to how people are delivering their pitches. I'll listen to how their origin story is and stuff like that. Because you never know when you're going to apply those, you're right, those insights that you get from there. So it's not like I don't want to read, but I do have long drives to work or to downtown. So I just have my headphones on. I listen to 3 podcasts in a week. And I'm like, okay, this is good to know. So podcast has been that tool for me. Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier how I built this. I listened to that podcast too, with Guy Raz. Shout out to Guy Raz.
Yeah.
And it's another. So I'm the same way. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to How I Built This. Another good one, you probably heard of it too, is Startup Therapy. That's another pretty good.
Oh, okay. I gotta listen to that.
Yeah, check that one out.
I gotta listen to that.
That's a good one. But yeah. So podcasts, I definitely on that train too. Another last question for you before we let you go is what's the biggest lesson you learned in 2022 when it comes to business?
The biggest lesson I learned in 2022 is that no matter how many no's you get, never give up.
Okay.
I got a ton of no's, and it's obviously it's disappointing. You're trying to move your business forward, and it's like, no, not now, or sometimes it's a long no. Like they don't even respond back, and when they do, it's like this slow no. Right. It's like, tell me yes or no right off.
Right. Just say no quick.
Right. So 2022 was a year of, it's a balance between yeses and nos. I did receive a lot of nos, which allowed me to go back and look at, okay, what are we doing? How can things be done differently? How can we position ourselves? Maybe it's a positioning thing. Maybe it's a branding thing. Maybe it's a team thing. We start looking at everything holistically to better understand how can we position ourselves in a better position for 23. Any founder who is worth their dream, is gonna go to a ton of no's, a
Mm.
gazillion. There's even one place that I applied to right now. They still have not responded to me, and I've written up an email to say, you know what, just say no.
I just want the closure. Just give me the closure.
Give me closure. Just say no. You know,
Right.
I know you're an entrepreneur, and I know you're doing an amazing platform, but you can't keep people. So that's that
Right.
part of it. But in 2022, it's the no's should not stop you.
Right. Great
The
advice.
no's should not stop you. They're gonna be no's. They're gonna be plenty of no's. But don't let it stop you.
Incredible. Great advice. Dapo, I appreciate taking the time out, and let us know what's your website, where can we find you on social media, everything else.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Website is roomii.co. Our handles on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook is at Get Roomii. So you can find us on any one of those. It's at Get Roomii, ROOMII. And if you want to reach out to me directly, it's Dapo at roomii.co.
There it is. Dapo, I appreciate it. You're incredible. You dropped some gems on us today. And for anybody listening, check out the Vision podcast. Go to Vision, look up on Apple Podcasts, look it up on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. We'll have this episode and all the other future episodes we'll have right there on the podcast. But Dapo, man, once again, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man.
Appreciate you, man. This has been great. Thanks a lot.